Hi everybody, welcome to my first of what's hopefully going to be a lot of videos on Big Brother. So I'm a huge Big Brother fan, and I love the United States version as well as the Canadian version. I've watched literally every episode. Have never gotten the feeds, sadly, but I have certainly heard a lot of things from the feeds that have changed my perspective of a few things. So essentially, I wanted to start this channel to talk about some topics that I feel like my opinion is different from some people. Maybe, something that could make people think. I'm always thinking of different topics to do with Big Brother that I could kind of share with the Big Brother community and all the fans. So, like I said, I'm a huge super fan, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this topic. I've been rewatching, in my opinion, what is one of the best seasons of Big Brother, and that's Big Brother 14. If you're not familiar with that season, I mean, most people are, but if you're not, go watch it. I am going to spoil a little bit, not anything too much, but, some things. A, who the winner is, B, what the general theme is for the season, and everything like that. Um, so the reason I wanted to make this video is because a topic from that season that kind of hits close to home with me also being a super fan is the fact that Ian Terry, the winner of that season, I mean, I think overall a lot of people respect him as a winner, but I still think a lot of people overlook him. And he's a very underrated winner, and some people look at it as, he shouldn't have beaten Dan. Now, this is not me saying that he should have beaten Dan. This is me saying I am okay as a super fan with him beating Dan. And I think most or more super fans and more fans in general of the show should be okay with it. I think it's common knowledge that Dan is certainly in the top three at the very least players ever to play. In my opinion, and this opinion has actually changed over the past probably a few weeks. In my opinion, he's the number one player ever to play. For the longest time, to me, it was Will, but I really do believe that Dan is the best player ever to play. And honestly, I don't know if this is a popular or unpopular opinion. I haven't really seen too much about it, but I honestly think that he played a better game in Big Brother 14 than he did in Big Brother 10. Just overall, he orchestrated more things. He had more control, especially earlier on in the game. He was making big moves to set him up for late in the game. He was actually willing to work at one point with Boogie and Frank when they were in power, and I mean that's because he realizes, well, I'm gonna have to try to be good with everybody because I'm a huge target. I need to do what I gotta do. I'm not gonna be able to be loyal in this game. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. So what we're talking about today is Ian Terry and the fact that he is, yes, maybe he shouldn't have beaten Dan, but really, I think he's very overlooked and essentially underrated as a winner. So first off, why I love him personally as a winner and will always respect him as a winner is because he's a super fan. He loves this game. He Early on he does things like go on slop just for the experience. And then after he does it once, he does it again and again because he says that it helps him gain favor with the house. And I think it really does work because he's not targeted by very many people after the first couple weeks. Initially, they actually are a little bit sketched by him. And I think, but in the mid game of Big Brother 14, he's not heavily targeted by any means. Nobody's really targeting him. Um, Not until Dan decides this guy's a thorn in my side. I need to get rid of this guy. Is he ever really considered as someone who, like, oh man, we got to get this guy out? And yet he's playing a very strong social game. He has connections with a lot of different people. Ashley at one point, Dan, and then he begins to get a bond with Brittany very much so. That I think helps carry him, a good amount of the way. But it's not like it it wasn't his own fault that it brought him. You know what I mean? Like it's not that oh, Brittany carried him. He got a good bond with Brittany because he realized that she's a very popular person in the game and that nobody really wants to go after her. So another important thing I want to touch on with Ian is that, and he's similar to me in this way, he has a disadvantage in that he comes in as a guy who's very nerdy, very socially awkward. Why is this a disadvantage? Because a lot of Big Brother is social. You can't rely on winning a competition every week to keep your safety. You can do it sometimes. If you're Frank, you can probably do it a lot of the time. But as soon as you lose just one competition, you're out the door. So him being socially awkward, and being able to figure out how to play a good social game is something that he had to do as the time went on. Early on, I talked about how early on some people didn't like him that much. He was kind of rubbing people the wrong way. It's because he's socially awkward and he wasn't making good social connections, and some people thought he was very odd. One example of that was when during the second week, Frank and Boogie were in the HOH room and they were actually watching him walk around the kitchen at like 3 in the morning. Like, what the heck is this guy doing? He was doing really weird things, looking around. And that kind of sketched them out, though, too. Luckily, he was on their team, so they probably weren't going to nominate him or target him because the early theme, of course, of that season is coaches with players. Really, only the players are playing until the week 4 when the coaches join the game. So being socially awkward, he had to learn how to really interact with people better and how to build those social connections. And I feel like he did a very good job, especially for someone who is socially awkward. The next thing I want to touch on is the fact that he showed, despite turning on Boogie and Frank, he showed that he could be loyal. He showed that he would stay with people. Yes, he does eventually turn on them, but at the same time, the way that he's loyal to them really shows to the alliance that he makes during the mid game of Big Brother 14, where he joins up with Brittany, Shane, Danielle, um, and Dan to kind of form what's called the Quack Pack, which really and truly is probably one of the statistic-wise best alliances of all time. If so the fact that he was actually super loyal early on to Boogie and Frank really gained him favor in the end game because the Quack Pack was like, okay, this guy can be loyal. It's just that he realized that Boogie and Frank were digging themselves a larger hole as the weeks gone on. There's a reason why, Boogie went and then Frank was the biggest target in the house because, well, he's a comp beast, and B, they dug themselves a hole socially. They weren't really interacting with too many other people. The only reason Frank had somewhat of an alliance with Jen is because they both had the same coach, and Jen was just like, okay, well, I need someone to work with. Not that she was really playing the game that much, but, it is what it is. The other thing that he does really well is he won big competitions. So he won the double eviction HOH. He won that veto ball competition. He won the final HOH. And if he didn't win that double eviction HOH, he was going home. I don't care what you tell me. He was going home. As Peridium, another YouTuber, kind of said during one of his videos, it's a super fan's dream to be in that position where your ass is on the line and to win that big competition in like a double eviction or a fast play kind of scenario. And he did that. And then he, of course, famously won that final HOH. He also won a couple other competitions during the season. So he was, and that's another thing that a lot of winners do is they win key competitions. You look at, I'm a Big Brother Canada fan. If you look at Kevin Martin, he realized that late in the season it was going to be a lot of mental competitions, which is why he studied like hell. He had no real big alliances in the second half of the game. He had essentially nobody. but he studied and he worked his ass off in those competitions and was able to win key competitions to keep himself safe down the line. Ian does this, and to finish my video, I do want to touch on that last part where I said his biggest competition win essentially was that last HOH. Because Dan's taking Danielle. Danielle is taking Dan in the end there. There's almost no way. Unless Danielle decided, well, I might have a better chance to beat Ian. But I personally think she's not beating anyone in that scenario. So my last point is that he was willing to take Dan to the end. He kind of says that, and you know what? Hey, like, personally, I probably wouldn't take the best player to the end if I ever got to play Big Brother, but he was willing to take Dan to the end. He said, you know what, I can convince them to vote for me, and he did just that. They voted for him. Yes, maybe they were bitter. Yes, Dan probably deserved to win, but he went and he convinced them that why he should win $500,000, and kudos to Ian for that. He really did earn a victory, and that is where I kind of want to end this video on. Hopefully I'm going to be doing some more videos for you guys. So this one was all about Ian being underrated and an overlooked winner. If there's any topics you want me to touch on, please let me know in the comments. I'll be coming up with a lot of my own, but I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on what I should maybe touch on next. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.